Hey everybody, Happy New Year. This is two EdTech guys take questions and share cool stuff. And we are back to take questions and share cool stuff, which is what we do. And that's why we called it what we did. And if anybody comes up with a better name, just let us know and we'll go with that. At any rate, we don't need that slide. The captions are on. Life is good. Thank you for joining us. We hope that you are off to a good start with 2021. You've got lots of cool things in motion. You're inspiring kids in some fashion, and that you are finding things that inspire you as well. A thank you goes out to the Krause Center for Innovation and all of the cool folks there, Gay and Justin and Cass, the team, and all that we do with Merit and the upcoming Elite program and things like that. And then there is this gem in the EdTech world. What might this be, Richard?
That's my blog I started 13 years ago. Free Tech for Teachers. I keep writing. Someone asked me why I keep doing it the other day, and I said because I can't stop. So every day I write more blog posts about interesting things that I find on the web and try to help people out with a lot of tutorials on how to do some interesting things in your classroom.
That's awesome. I think momentum is actually a perfectly common reason for why people do what they do, but that it results in good done for the world speaks to your character, my friend.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right. I run a little nonprofit called Next Vista for Learning. It's an online library of videos by and for teachers and students everywhere, free to use, free to contribute to, free to download from, all for a student audience, all screen content, my own little attempt to save the universe from ignorance, one creative video at a time. Breathe in. All right, so that's what that is. We do all kinds of little things. Got two, count them, two EdTech guys, two contests that started just in the last week. All right, and the deadlines are in April. Creative Recovery 21, as in 90 seconds or less, creatively explain something one might encounter in school. And Service via Video 21, 2 minutes or less, tell the story of a person or an organization who makes life better for others. So if you're interested in that, just stay in touch. Happy to help you with that. Later today at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Mountain, and 3:30 p.m. Pacific, also 5:30 p.m. Central Time, and then, continue on. I'd say what time that is in Lebanon, but so I guess it would be 1:30 a.m. there. And so, Sarah, style points to you for being part of this. The thing coming up, by the way, later this afternoon is activities across grade levels coming back. Me and Susan Stewart share ideas there. We take an idea and we say, what does this look like for K to 2? What does it look like for grades 3 to 5? What does it look like for middle school, high school? And got loads of fun stuff that we're going to be talking about today. So under the space of self-direction and self-management, wouldn't you like your students to be more self-directed in their learning? And that's why we're doing this. All right. There is also coming up on the 30th of January, free. So no matter where you are in the world, as long as your time zone works for it, you can join the North Bay Q Napa Learns Innovation Summit, Learning Innovation Summit, and a certain person ding ding, will be keynoting it. Hopefully it's the kind of thing that'll make people stop and go, that's really great. All right. And so I hope you will join in. As always, you can get to the different things we talk about via the links in the slides, because you can get to the slides because if you properly put in your email address and didn't just register and suddenly come in, which is a possibility, then you will get an email from me later with the link to our recording of the session, so you can share it with others if you are interested in doing so. Or you can just go to the slides and find stuff there, or you can go to the page with the links in it. There's just so much. So anyway, feel free to join in, and we hope that that is exciting for you. How does this work? Well, you can guess what we do, take questions, and share cool stuff. We'll start with questions. Richard, get us going. What is our first question for today?
All right, our first question of the day, I just had it up on the screen, and then I moved away from it. It is a question from Amy, who asked, what is the one question or topic that you get asked about the most?
Yeah.
Well, for me, that question, without fail, is how do you make your videos? Which
you're going to answer right now, I assume.
Which I'm going to answer right now.
Good. All right.
which is also accompanied by how do you make the cursor hover on your screen, highlight on your screen? And I use Screencast-O-Matic. Screencast-O-Matic.com. I use the desktop version. It costs $20 a year. It's the cost of like 1.5 coffees at Starbucks. It's well worth the cost of it. So yeah, Screencast-O-Matic. People ask me that at least 3 times a week in my email. That's the number one thing I get asked about. What about you, Rushton?
Well, first of all, if you're paying $12.67 for a coffee at Starbucks, then you've got a different situation going than we do where we are. Everybody dig my math. Now,
clearly, I don't go to Starbucks. I prefer Tim Hortons.
why should you go if they're charging you that much? So for me, the question actually, and this is a question that really happens in schools, big, large, urban, rural, private, public, charter, independent, I mean, just like elementary, high school, college. The thing that I hear the most is, how do I get my kids more engaged in their learning? How do I get my students more into what I teach them? And that kind of is in the space of like, well, what is it that you are looking to make happen, right? Well, I want them to learn. Well, what does that mean? Are you looking for them to show that they've memorized some things? You want them to be inspired to like create cool connections with something? What are we going for really, right? And then once you get into that and take a good, honest look at that, I think you can figure out kind of what the next move would be. I will say this as a yet another shameless plug, because I'm setting a record with early webinar shameless plugs today, that in the afternoon, later afternoon, the later webinar, I am going to talk about kind of self-direction 101. How can you take students coming into a school and go through a process that gets them more into being a part of what it is they're learning. So I'm actually going to hit that in some detail in mere hours. Feel free to join. There you go. Richard, keep us going.
All right, you're excused. You haven't been able to shamelessly plug anything for like a month, so that's okay. So next question that came from Anne, who asked, one question I've Googled with no luck is what to do when a student accidentally deletes a PDF assignment in Google Classroom. I know with Google Docs, they can click make another copy and boom, they're back in business. However, most of what I post in Google Classroom is a PDF. I created a student account to try to figure this out, but I couldn't. So the trick of this, Anne, or anyone else who's interested, and I do this a lot. I share PDFs with my students a lot in my Google Classroom. If they delete it, if you shared it with them, you use the make a copy for every student function, and they then go in Google Classroom and delete it on their view in Google Classroom, it's not gone. It's still in their Google Drive, but you need to search for it by the title of the PDF, not the title of the assignment. So for example, if my assignment is called Networking Assignment 1, but the PDF is called How to Build a Network, they need to look in their Google Drive for How to Build a Network, not the title of the assignment. So that's the trick of that.
Well said, sir. Well said. I would add that one good thing I think for any of us to do, teachers and students, is to get into Drive and open that classroom folder and just look at the structure that's in it. Just kind of get an idea of like, okay, well, which classroom, which classes are represented in these folders? How does it break things down? So while I'm much more into searching in Drive than I am about going and finding it via hierarchy, still, that's not a bad thing to do just to get a sense of how it works. Don't spend a lot of time on that or you're procrastinating, just saying. Richard, let's do another one.
All right. So another one that came in from Martin, who asked, during a Zoom session, instead of using the MS or Whiteboard app and writing on the screen display, I was thinking of writing on a blank sheet of paper on my desk, all the while an external webcam on a stand is focused on a paper. Do you think it will work? Yeah, it'll work. I've done that myself, done a very similar thing myself. And the one thing to keep in mind is how big your hand is, right? Like how big your hand and your arm is, and you kind of have to position things so that you don't end up covering a whole lot of what you're trying to show to students, if that makes sense. Like if I just go and put my webcam here on a stand and then stick my arm underneath it, I might end up covering a lot. So you kind of have to play around with the positioning of it for a while so you get it where you really want it, but it does work. I've done that. But I've also started using, or I shouldn't say started using, I've used it for years, a tool called Visor, Visor, visor.io. You'll find it. It's free software. I use it to mirror my phone to my computer via USB cable. It's a lot more reliable than trying to mirror, over AirPlay or those sorts of things. With the USB cable, it never drops unless you like completely shut off your computer or shut off your phone or something like that. So I use Visor, and I actually wrote a blog post about it like 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. What's today? 10 days ago. I wrote it 10 days ago. I just put a link to it in there about how to use your phone as a document camera in Zoom. So, yeah. So it works. It definitely works, but I really like that software, Visor.io.
Very
I
cool.
like like I said, I like the option of using a USB cable to mirror as opposed to trying to rely on the nuances of your Wi-Fi network or trying to mirror over AirPlay. I find that even with AirPlay, some things will just drop randomly sometimes for no good reason, and then your kids are like, "Hey, Mr. Byrne, you're drawing on a black screen. No one can see anything." Yep. So I don't say Mr. Byrne unless your name is Mr. Byrne, though.
So I would add to that being cognizant of where your hand is, like in a dot camera situation, is not dissimilar, he said, using an effective double negative, to being aware of how you look when you are in front of a camera in the Zoom and Google Meet and such space, right? And so we've all seen folks who are kind of like this. That's just a bad idea. It's just a bad idea. It doesn't work well for achieving greater educational ends in the Just Stay In department. All right, let's get to our first cool share. Richard, you have got Mote for us. Talk to us about Mote.
Mote, which you'll find at the real web address is justmote.me, justmote.me, and it lets you add voice comments to Google Classroom, to Google Documents, and record audio to go directly into your Google Slides. It's a neat Chrome extension. I started using it last week, really like it. I've used other services in the past for adding voice comments to Google Docs. What I like about Mote is that it actually embeds the player into the comments, so kids don't have to like click a link and go out to an external website. They actually can play the comments right back in the Google Doc itself. If that makes sense. I like that functionality of it. Just click the record button and it records right in your Google Docs in the comments, just like writing a comment, except recording a comment. But it also works for feedback in Google Classroom. So if your students have turned in an assignment in Google Classroom, you can leave them private voice comments on their work as well. And of course, the Google Slides audio is really cool too. So check it out, justmote.com, justmote.me, justmote.me. Sign up. There's a free plan. Free plan lets you record for 30 seconds at a time, which I think is plenty of time. Because let's be honest, if I rambled on for 5 minutes, my students are not listening to 5 minutes of my commentary. Right? They want quick chunks.
Yep. Fair enough. Now, a good, and I assume it is Mote and not like Mote or something like that.
I've been calling it Mote, and no one's corrected me yet, but it's only been a week or a week and a half.
Rock and roll. All right, let's hit the next question. What you got?
No, they don't have to have they don't have to have it to play back the comments.
Good question from Jody there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good point. They don't have to have it to play back the comments. So, Oh, next question. Sorry, I forgot where we were.
You're doing a fine job and we're all proud.
All right, thanks. From Donna, who asked us, over the past few years, I've used an online slideshow known as PhotoPeach. I used to use that one too. The students love it. It's a great alternative to Google Slides. Since Adobe Flash Player is out, I needed an alternative slideshow presenter. Any suggestions? The first one that came to mind is the original audio slideshow video tool, Mote. Still works, still available, still has a free plan available for 30-second videos, so you can try Mote. But I also really like Adobe Spark. I think Rushton would probably agree with me on that one. Adobe Spark Video is really good. Canva, C-A-N-V-A, Canva actually has the capability to turn your slides into a movie as well. So there's 3 good options that are not Flash-based. But since we're on the topic of Flash, yes, Flash has been officially deprecated, which means no one's officially supporting it anymore. So if you still have it installed, uninstall it just as a security precaution. Uninstall it. Now, there are various emulators out there, and some of my students actually just yesterday were playing, or Tuesday, were playing around with some of them because they wanted to play some of my students are really into these emulators of old games, like the games that you and I grew up playing on Atari and ColecoVision and whatnot.
Excellent.
Yeah. So they were playing around with some old emulators that way. But as a rule of thumb, disable Flash or uninstall Flash from your computer because it's not being supported by anybody anymore.
Donna, if you or anyone else has the answer to this question, I would be curious. You talk about an alternative to Google Slides. And it's good to kind of be aware of alternatives generally, for sure. If you are not thinking about animated slideshows and you're just thinking slides, I would be curious why Google Slides is not a good idea for you. It is awfully free, shall we say, and it's an easy one to share, given that it can be in the browser, right? And all of the things. Whenever I post the link to the slides that we use, it's posted with and I can actually show you this on the screen, right? So if you look up here at the top, you'll see that where you might see edit when you are making a set, I actually change it to present with nothing to the right, and then that becomes the link that I share this stuff with. And that's just pretty easy. I mean, there's a number of other ways to do it, publish to the web, blah, blah, blah. But at any rate, be curious kind of what thoughts are out there on that. Feel free to send those our way. Richard, hit the next question.
Okay, next question came from Debbie, who asked us, is there an app that can be used to take a 3D picture of an object, one that would allow students to turn the image to see all sides? So there's a couple of things you could do with this. So first of all, now I'm completely blanking on it now that I've put on the spot, I have it on my phone. In Google Street View. In Google Street View, you can stitch together your 360-degree imagery using the camera that's built into the Google Street View app. I'm not talking about Google Maps. It's got to be really clear. The Google Street View app, if you use the camera function that's built into that, you can stitch together 360 imagery. Also, if you've got a phone that's updated to the latest version of Android, which is 11 point something. I have one right now. I should look at what version it is. It's 11 point something. That has a built-in capability for capturing 360-degree imagery. And again, it will stitch together all the imagery. I think that's probably the easiest way to go about it. I don't have an iPhone that I use on a regular basis, but I can tell you that the Street View app in iPhone does the same capability. What do you think, Rushton? Do you have some other outstanding app you want to use?
No, although it struck me that in thinking about looking at things from a 3D perspective, and if what you want to do is you want to get some pieces in front of your students so that they're looking at something interesting, so that they can really think about, well, what do I want to do with this such that it would be an interesting thing to look at from 3D, right? So you don't want to do it simply because it's 3D. There's got to be some goal. And the Smithsonian, si.edu, right, has loads of good 3D content. Matter of fact, 3d.si.edu, I'll double check, make sure. Appears to be so. Boom, now in the chat. And we'll get that in the links as well. But good content, right? You know, so if what you're looking for is something that that just gives people the chance to kind of look at what it is they find interesting about 3D, right? We always have to be in that space of the tech. We need to articulate or get the students to articulate what's fascinating about using tech in any given way. I mean, if you can teach something better with chalk and slate, use chalk and slate, right? But there's loads of things that you can teach really, really well using tech. You just need to be able to make sure that everybody's on board with why you're doing it. Next question.
All right. Next question popping up here came from Stacy, who wrote, I'm going to try to condense it because it's kind of a long question. As a school-wide project, I had students do a "My name is what is special about me is" activity on Flipgrid. Now I have 300 plus Flipgrid videos that are 5 to 15 seconds long. I would love to make a full stream video of all the responses to send out to our community. Is there something I could do within the Flipgrid platform? Also, I'd like to be able to edit out the long pauses that occur at the start and end of student posts. Many of our little tykes ended with quite a bit of a lag when pressing the start and stop button. I've been through Flipgrid and I can't find how to, and I've downloaded all the videos. However, they're now all on my desktop as zip folders, and I want to move them into iMovie quickly without having to individually click on that. Okay, so couple of things here. A couple of things she's looking for. One, she wants to show all these Flipgrid videos in one continuous playlist or stream. Flipgrid does have a feature called Mixtape, in which you can select the videos that you want to have from a whole bunch of places in your Flipgrid account into one big playlist. So if you have multiple groups or multiple topics, you can pull from all of those and put them into one big playlist called a mixtape in Flipgrid. So you can do that. That, however, won't take care of your pause issue or your students having some dead air in there. That's not going to take care of that, but it is going to let you at least put all 300 plus in one playlist. So you can try that. But when Stacy goes on to ask about putting all the downloaded files into iMovie and not having to individually click and open them, there's a couple of things to consider here. Number one, you should be able to multi-select when you do your upload to iMovie. You should be able to multi-select, hold down your command key and do a multi-select and put those in there. Also, since she's using iMovie, I'm going to assume that she's using a Mac because there's no other way to use it other than iPad, but it doesn't sound like she's using an iPad. There is a program called Keyboard Maestro. It's a paid service. I personally don't use it, but a colleague of mine, Brewster Burns, who is a professional amateur photographer, maybe I'm not describing him correctly. He makes some money from taking a lot of pictures, but it's not his career. But he uses it all the time. I've seen him use it to do batches of thousands of pictures at once where he wants to repeat the same process. And Keyboard Maestro lets you program your Mac to do a series of steps that you would have to otherwise do manually. So if you're running into an issue where like, oh my goodness, I have to double click every single time I want to do this, Keyboard Maestro does that for you. You just say, I want it to do X, Y, Z process, and it'll just keep running it for you. So try that.
I would add to that you do need to stop and say, how much gain is there for the time that I am putting into this process? I think sometimes we get into text possibilities, from the standpoint of like, see, I can make this happen, this happen, this happen. Great. Is that something that is yielding a wonderful wow moment, like some memorable learning, a chance to understand something better than they would have otherwise? And if the answer is no, but I just got into it. If it brings you happiness, that's actually a good reason to do it. But if you find yourself getting frustrated by working on, I'd say just stick with the Flipgrid piece and not worry about the ums and ahs. Matter of fact, use it as a teachable kind of thing where you say, can we make some short videos where we don't have the ums and ahs, and that'll be a part of what we're trying to do, right? And see if that helps as we go as well. So y'all, it is time for the second cool share. And it's a very cool one. Every year, Google/YouTube puts out the Year in Search video. And the Year in Search video it's not just the things that made the news, although that is heavily represented in this video. It's also stuff that went viral in particular ways. This of course, interacts with themes in all sorts of interesting ways. The 2021, very powerful, right? Every year it's very powerful, and they pick a theme. The 2019 one was heroes, and it was excellent. Go back and find it if you haven't, or write me and I'll get it for you. The 2021 is why, right? And people asking why, and in the face of a horrible, horrible world pandemic that we're still dealing with, why makes sense, right? But in getting into this video, you might find that there are some really important pieces of the year that kind of got drowned out by the noise from other elements of the year. And I would say that it is a good one to review, a good one to enjoy. And like every year, you might want to have a tissue close by, because that tends to be a part of the experience as well. Richard, let's get one more question in.
One more question. Last question. Judith, hi Judith, asked about using tables in a Google form that will be used as a quiz. At the moment, I'm using a snipping tool to table into the question. Any other ways? No. Yeah, so unfortunately, Google Forms doesn't support that function to insert a table, like a table from a spreadsheet, right? Like if we're making a Google Sheet and we have a table in a Google Sheet that we want to use in the quiz, unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. The screenshot of it will work. But I would say if you haven't tried goformative.com yet, you might want to consider checking that out if you're going to be doing a lot of questions based on tables or questions based on charts like that, because GoFormative lets you overlay the images in little interactive markers so that students can just click on the little marker and see the question that's on top, that's related to the table. So it's not a like look up, look down. It's like look at the table, answer this question, and all at the table. So that's what I might do. What do you think, Rushton? And I see Judith is writing in there.
Absolutely. I would add that you're Judith, you're probably doing it the best way in terms of getting a quick screenshot, and but there are multiple ways to get and work with screenshots, and depending on your operating system, this might be a little easier, a little harder, but finding ways to simplify getting and using screenshots is actually one of those tech skills that isn't emphasized enough. There are a lot of things you can do that have nothing to do with teaching tech, by the way, but just drawing upon really good content from a lot of places that come from being able to say, okay, like on my Windows keyboard, there's a print screen key that puts the screen as the thing to be pasted, right? It puts it on the, what do you call that thing when you copy it? Goes to is it the clipboard? Is that what we call it? All right, sorry, old school. All right, so that that goes to the clipboard. If you have a system like I use this old program called Irfan View, love it, right? Where it's just paste, crop, done, right? And it's easy. So finding something that allows you to do that well is good. On a Mac, Command Shift 3 and Command Shift 4 are good for quickly getting a screenshot. Command Shift 3 gets your entire screen. Command Shift 4 gives you the crosshair, so you can say, I just want this part to become a PNG that ends up on your desktop. So all good with those. And Judith, thank you for the question and for your dedicated attendance to the 2 EdTech Guys Take Questions and Share Cool Stuff webinar. Y'all, our next episode is 4 weeks from today. It's Thursday, February 18th. Why 4? Because 2 weeks from today, I've got a big thing going on in Idaho, the IETA conference. Very cool conference. Feel free to join in if you are feeling up for that. But we will certainly look forward to seeing you on the 18th. As we always say, make sure you're taking good care of yourself so that you can be that teacher who can identify what's needed for a kid who is ready to maybe hit that next level, but just needs a caring adult who has a little clever moment, kind of creativity that tosses in and allows that kid to take that next step. As always, I will just give away a Starbucks card because why not? Because in most parts of the world, this card, not Maine perhaps, will buy you a drink, all right? And you can make good things happen with that. That comes from signing up for my newsletter, which I will put in the chat in the very near future. Additionally, you can come in and find like all sorts of good things about the newsletter from our site. You can find good things from the Rushton H blog, rushtonh.com. I actually posted something just very recently. I'm very proud of that. And it's about a thing that's coming up in just a couple of weeks. So on the first Friday in February, I'm going to do a webinar on your school post-COVID, as in you might be sitting there going, I can't wait to get back to normal. The punchline of this is it's just no more normal, right? That whatever that normal was before COVID, the world has changed in some ways that are important for how you think about your teaching and how you think about your school. And so I'm going to do a little webinar so that if you and your team need a little extra kick to start saying, okay, let's start planning for what the post-COVID school looks like and why different elements of that are important, then you are welcome to join in on that. When you get the email later today, if you registered for this, then you will also see the link to our webinars page where you can register for that, as always, for free. So feel free to jump in on that front. I've written books. Feel free to give them a look by going to this page and clicking around. I'll save the time of explaining what they do, but I am proud of them. They're good books. All right. What about this? Talk to us, Richard.
All right, so EdTech Handbook, it's free. Just sign up for my newsletter. It is 64 pages of my favorite EdTech tools, tips, and other things, including some ideas on how to teach search and ideas on how to incorporate video into your classroom. Lots of cool stuff like that. And in the chat, for those who are in the chat, there's that too. But in the chat, I just put in a link to my new Strava club. For those of you who are runners, bikers, swimmers, exerciseaholics who would like a little encouragement or social media kudos or whatever, feel free to join me on Strava. I just put the link in there. And now we can go on to the next page. Next slide, Rushton. My YouTube channel, I've got about 1,000, literally 1,000 tutorials on all kinds of interesting things over the years. You can find me on Twitter at rmburn, send me an email, all good stuff.
Y'all, we have come to the end of the first episode of 2 EdTech Guys Take Questions and Share Cool Stuff for 2021. I hope you are excited about the year and its possibilities, that there are different things that perhaps are inspiring you in different ways. And we certainly welcome your joining us whenever we do this shindig today, for example, 4 weeks from today as well. And send us questions. If you have got some question about how to think about a particular tech tool, or how to think about a particular activity with learning and how you might use tech as a part of it, we are happy to give it a little shot in terms of speaking to it. So with that, we want to thank you for watching this recording. Those of you who are with us at the moment, we'll stick around and talk to you some more. We just like to do that, and you don't have to stick around, but it's up to you. So with that, take care, go forth, inspire kids, and by all means, find what inspires you as well. Thank you again for joining us. We will see you in a few weeks.